All right, you are recording.
Great, thank you. This is the Assembly's Subcommittee on Communications. I think we can just have members who are here identify themselves for the record. Meg Zalatel. And I believe we have Chris Constant. You here, Chris? I see him listed there. So, and Mr. Weddleton indicated he was on another meeting but would hop over as soon as he was done. So we don't have any action items today. We just have items to review. First on the agenda is the Assembly review draft of Assembly newsletter. That went out a little while ago. Would anyone like to give us a little bit of background on the newsletter?
Hi, Meg. I just wanted to say hello. This is Tiffany Tudiakoff, CEO of Northwest Strategies, the agency who is working on this newsletter, and Anna Elliott is also on the call, who has been leading up the project. And so I just wanted to say hello to everyone. And Anna, perhaps if you could give a little bit of background just on the project, since you've been leading that from the NWS perspective.
Yes. Hey, everybody. This is Anna. So we sent out the first draft of the Assembly newsletter a little bit ago. We had originally kind of brainstormed with Felix on this. And since we were kind of creating a entirely new newsletter, we based it loosely off of the the most recent priorities document that you guys had put out. So we broke it into similar sections, such as the communications, the homelessness, the economic development, public safety, and quality of life. Felix was nice enough to put together kind of a roster of different contacts to reach out to. So we use the information discussed in the priorities document to kind of guide this outline and reach out to specific contacts to kind of get a better gauge of where we are and any updates on those items. We were able to pull a lot of different graphs as well. I know Felix said he wanted to kind of show that, like have some of those visuals in there. We were also able to kind of create a graphic. He wanted to be able to show these long-term and short-term goals kind of in a more, I guess, easily digestible manner. So we created throughout the document kind of a not started, in progress, and completed graphics so we can see, and the newsletter subscribers can see where these goals are.
Oh, excuse me. Second, I just wanted to mention I did drop the link to the newsletter in the chat if you don't have it open and handy.
Yes, thank you, Tiffany. So the first draft, we really just wanted to get you guys. I know I reached out probably to several of you and your colleagues for information. So some of you got some emails from me. So thank you guys so much for contributing to this. I think it's a really good informative piece. And we really just kind of wanted feedback, on the layout, since we were kind of concepting this from scratch, just what you guys thought about the look and feel of it, just as well as the layout of the information. I know sometimes newsletters, it's hard to get everything into one newsletter. So we definitely tried to just provide the highlights and save some stuff for future newsletters where we could. Some of you, this may be the first time you're seeing this. I know Tiffany shared it in the chat. But if anyone has had any time to review it and has any feedback, we would love it just to keep the ball rolling on this.
Great. I'm just seeing it for the first time. It looks really great.
Thank you.
I like it. It almost reminds me a little bit of an annual report, kind of an annual report of the assembly and how it's doing on the goals it set forward. Great. Well, what I'll do is we'll make sure we get that link sent around to the subcommittee members to see if they have any particular feedback that they would like give, and we will try to get that done here before the end of the year, unless there's a different deadline we should be aware of.
So Jennifer, you maybe, I know you have worked closely with Felix on this. So I know Felix was, since this was the first newsletter, he wanted to make sure that we were really had a good grasp on this and we're putting together all the right information. I wasn't sure exactly, there wasn't a hard deadline necessarily, just kind of as soon as, you know, everyone who needed to see it could see it and provide feedback, revisions if needed. So I'm not sure if he's on this call, one of those phone numbers. But yeah, there wasn't like a hard, fast deadline. I think it was just kind of as soon as we could produce the work that, you know, covered everything and that everybody was comfortable with, was my understanding.
Okay, got it. Yeah, and we'll want to make sure that we maximize the time that we release it so it doesn't get lost amidst other things. Either maybe we can try to get any feedback quickly so that maybe we can release it near the second meeting we have in December, if that works for Felix and for the subcommittee, so that we can look at making mention of it at that meeting. And I believe our second meeting it's actually the 22nd of December. So it's running up near the holiday, but that gives us plenty of time to get feedback and make any tweaks. So we'll do our best.
Well, my immediate feedback is there's nothing addressing COVID. And I know that there's COVID talks everywhere, but it seems like that needs to be a section here. And I'm not sure what, but if we don't have it there, it looks like we're ignoring it.
Okay.
Because, I mean, much of our year has been spent addressing issues related to the pandemic.
Yeah. And maybe that's just pointing to where we kind of housed our pandemic response information, which is at our CARES Act page.
Right, and it could draw from that and lay out where we actually spent money, how the various pools of funds were appropriated. I mean, it could be a number of things, and it could be just a reference to the content at those pages, maybe with just a high level paragraph, but something.
Okay.
I see we've been joined by Felix. Felix, we're talking about the new newsletter, and we were shared the link, and we were just looking at that, and we were talking about timing for its publication, particularly around maybe before our meeting on the 22nd, so that we could give a good shout out to it in it, you know, at a meeting, or a way that we can make sure that we're helping publicize its existence. Any feedback?
Yeah, I think that sounds fine, considering just the length of time that it's taking to get this done. If we do it later in December, are we? So I guess real question is, what is the timestamp that we're putting on this? Because particularly some of this data on here is very specific. So is this going to be out of date if we release it in mid-December? And do we need to update any of these numbers?
I mean, as far as the graphs go, I know Justin Dahl with APD provided a lot of the graphs in here. And then Jasmine was provided a lot of the graphs for the homelessness section. So if that is something you would like me to reach back out to those contacts and just double check I'm happy to do that.
And just to add a note for those who are unaware, there is a Facebook campaign currently running promoting the newsletter. It's a sign-up campaign. So it would be great to, release the newsletter soon for those who have signed up for it, so they do get something in a timely manner.
And that sign-up campaign is happening from the municipal website as well.
Yes. So
Okay.
we've had good feedback from that as well, and good sign-up rates, which is exciting for that.
Felix, did you plan to review this with the whole body or just the subcommittee prior to its release, like through rules or something?
No, I was not planning on reviewing this with the entire body.
Okay, great. All right, well, I think Chris provided some feedback. I know we don't have Mr. Weddleton here yet. And I just want to read through the content a little bit more carefully, but I can get any feedback done in the next 2 days, I would say is fair.
That sounds great.
And I would ask, can we get the information about how to ask people to sign up for the newsletter? I haven't seen the campaign, and I'd be happy to help circulate that. I think that would be.
I definitely, it's a link through a platform, the platform we're using to distribute the newsletter. So it's really easy to share. So I can definitely send that out to Felix and Jennifer again, and they can distribute it to everyone from there.
Awesome. Thanks. Okay. Oh, and Felix, I had mentioned before you got on, I said that the newsletter looks a lot like an annual report, which I know I had said that it would be great if we could do some sort of annual report on our goals, and it looks like you've already made it happen with these fine folks. So I really like the format. Anything else on this before we move on to our next item?
I guess, Meg, the only thing I want to add is that Felix did have a PDF version of this that he's requested as well. So there will be in addition to the online version, there'll be a PDF that can be printed. I know we're not in person right now, but it does have a shelf life to it that will be able to be passed out to your community councils and anywhere else that you want to do that.
Okay, great. And actually that raises a secondary issue is, do we want to indicate if there's another issue of this coming at a particular time to kind of bookend the timeline on this? Because it looks like it's pretty much based on data through the end of third quarter.
Yeah, so I think that was one of the goals, was to get us to a point working with Northwest Strategies where they could do the first 1 or 2 of these and then provide us with the templates so that moving into the future, we could complete these, whether with internal staff or otherwise.
Awesome. Okay. So unless there's anything else, we'll move on to the next item. Actually, if there's no objection, I think we'll reverse B and C because Mr. Weddleton's not yet on, and he had some feedback on the organizational chart description, which is item B. So we'll go ahead and to Assembly 101 update. I asked for this to be added on. As you may know, the communications aides that have been working for the assembly around COVID-related issues and engagement, along with Mr. Weddleton and Mr. Constant, really took off on this Assembly 101 idea, and they've produced an amazing product. And I just wanted to actually, Chris, if you wanted to say a few words kind of about where that landed, and give just a brief update on that, because that moved along really quickly.
I don't know that I'm the one best to present on this. you know, we have a series of video educational tools and printed documents to help people better understand the assembly process. I think that it'd be better to have a report from the folks developing that material.
I'm not sure, were they able to join us? They may not have been able to, it was last minute, so we can.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly quality material. I'm very satisfied. Hopefully we get it live, and the idea of running it between our assembly breaks so it's streaming on the YouTube and the radio sounds pretty awesome. And I think it's just in the last drafts now.
Hi, this is Christy Tanaka. Can everyone hear me?
Oh, yes, thank you. Welcome. Yeah, if you want to just provide a quick.
Yeah, I just wanted to let everyone know we did some work with Marissa and Heather on the video. We did the first one on how to participate in person, and the next one is going to be on phone and written testimony. And then I guess by popular demand, people would like a more like overarching how the assembly works, parliamentary procedure, the difference between an ordinance and whatnot, and sort of definition based. Other projects that we're working on include the PowerPoint that we sent out. So that'll be sort of like a basis for some of the other educational materials that we'll post in various places on the website, as well as an overarching sort of like navigator one-pager document. So thank you guys. Thanks everyone for your feedback. We continue to, you know, definitely want to take that feedback that you have for all the products that we make, so we can make sure that the best products are put out there.
Just as a matter of philosophy, I heard yet again today, there's this argument being made by some that we need to make our ordinances be in common English. This idea is not actually very effective for the public process. What we should be doing is making all these materials that describe what happens. So, and I think we're doing that. But as a group, we need to be careful. We don't change the language of the law to meet, you know, the lowest common denominator. The law is the law. And we need to ensure that we're communicating well. And ordinances, especially code changes, change to the code, and the memorandums that go with it are the defining tools that help people understand what's actually happening. Because again, this morning I got someone saying you need to make your ordinances in the common language. I'm like, this is as common as it gets. So it's an area we need to watch out for. And all of these are good tools to achieve a better understanding of what we're doing.
Great. And we can, if we are aware of where those materials are published and how they're being disseminated during the assembly updates on committees, we can provide that information to the public during the meeting, during the updates. If I have some notes, I'll just make it during my opportunity to speak, or Chris or John can, so that we make sure folks are aware of the materials that are being produced, because they're really fantastic. Thank you for the fast and expedient work and good work. I very much appreciate it. And then, so we're gonna go back up on the.
Before we flip, I just want to add the kudos to that. We do a lot of work and we talk about communications, and some things are so complex, and this was surprisingly effective and quick. So I just want to double up on what Meg said there. Thank you, everybody. Amazing how quality and effective this is. And it looks like John's here.
Oh, hi, John. Welcome. We were just talking and giving kudos for the Assembly 101 information that went out. Did you have anything you'd like to add about that? If you do, you might be on mute, but if you're welcome to give kudos or any additional, even as we move on. So we have one more item on our agenda, and I'm glad Mr. Weddleton's here. I know he'd given some feedback. This is the general operating budget organizational chart descriptions for Assembly Department. Would someone like to introduce this, and then we can jump into the meat of it?
John, did you want to, or I can? Or Chris could.
Excuse me, I missed the question. I got a quick call. What was the question?
If
What was the question?
I would like to introduce the general operating budget organizational chart descriptions for assembly department.
Okay, you need a sponsor for that. Why are we introducing it? I actually didn't understand that item on the agenda.
Okay. Felix or John, would you like
I'll explain.
some background?
Felix.
Sure. Yeah, I'll go ahead and explain it. Thanks. So this is actually something, Chris, that you brought up to me. And so I, through my process, referred this to this committee. So during the budget.
I remember that conversation now, thanks. And so, great, please continue with the description though.
Yeah. So during the budget, each department has a there's an overarching organizational chart, and the way that I think of it is, and maybe the public thinks of it this way, maybe they don't, but it is a managerial chart, as in it describes the management structure of the municipality. In the budget, each department has its own org chart. If you go to the assembly department, it has assembly department and clerk's office, ombudsman, council. And then it has a description of what each department does, starting with sort of an overarching description and then going into each of the subsets. So Chris brought to my attention an issue with the overarching org chart of the entire municipality and how it feels like the assembly is detached from all of the different departments. You know, literally, if you read the lines, the only departments that we are attached to are internal audit and Office of Equity and Justice, and then there was a third one that I forget. And so it doesn't look like the assembly is attached to any other department. So the idea here is just to have a discussion of what do we need to do in terms of, or what thoughts do we have about that dilemma, and are there ways that we could better depict how the assembly is oversees or uses our fiscal oversight role. And from my perspective, when I brought this to the assembly leadership team, it seems to me that a great way for us to do this isn't necessarily visually, because it's hard for me to imagine how that's done visually, but through narrative. It would be a way to depict the assembly's fiscal oversight role, but there may be other ideas of how we depict that. And I think, Meg, you were saying John had some specific ideas on this topic.
Okay, so I can talk for a minute now. Sorry. So yes, I would be listed as.
Okay. John, you'd given some feedback on this. Did you want to talk about that?
I hope they're good ideas because I don't remember them. As Felix was speaking, though, I think our connection with a lot of those departments is through our committees. I mean, clearly, Community Economic Development Committee does a lot of the public works. You know, you got the health department, public safety, fire department, and police and so on. So I mean, that's, if you can draw something up that says, well, here's where we're involved. I mean, those really are our links, an ongoing thing.
So, yeah, I mean, John, you'd commented about the contracts, that it was unclear that contracts over 500,000 and contracts for services over 100,000. What are contracts for over 500,000 for, if not for services? Should we say purchases? So you did some
Right.
Cleanup, as you often do, for language. And I think that was about the only comment I saw overall from the notes you sent back, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, that jogs my memory. Yeah, I didn't dig them up. Yeah.
And for my part, all this narrative is great, but the one thing people see is that org chart, and corporations across the world do this represented visually. And the accountability, the policy setting roles can be demonstrated in a visual way. So while I appreciate all of this, I don't think it actually gets to the previous question. And I didn't realize even that this was intended to do that because it didn't draw a clear enough line to me to that. And so, you know, my bafflement wasn't because I don't want to see a better reflection, but because I didn't see a connection. And so I think we could have a visual representation on that org chart. And I guess I didn't realize that this work had been ongoing. I did ask and then I heard nothing. And so I'll be happy to send over some examples of how it's visually demonstrated.
Okay, sounds good. Is there anything else on that? I thought it was extremely thorough, frankly. It was almost like a Assembly 101, Assembly Department 101 in narrative form that really breaks down. I actually think it would be a really good training tool for new aides if they come on, to kind of give them the lay of the land if they haven't been involved with the assembly before. So, okay. Is there anything else on this before we move along to the old business or unfinished business? Okay. So our unfinished business is the contact chart. What is the status? Did we get feedback from all members as to what they wanted as their contact information?
So we didn't, Meg. We got about half. If you want, I'll show you. I can share my screen and show the chart real quick.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. So here it is. I just wanted to bring it back to the subcommittee's attention to let you know that this is what we have, and we're ready and willing to get this rolled out if we want to try to reach out to assembly members again. Liz did reach out to them probably 6 weeks, a couple months back, reach out to everybody. So this is where we have. We can send out another message to assembly members and try again, or we can publish it as is. It's really whatever you guys want to do.
My initial thought is let's reach out again and let's say that it's going to be that with like that. If you don't provide an update, this is what will be published coming. I don't know, whatever makes sense. January 4th, like in the new year, this is what's coming, is one possibility. But I'm open to feedback on that.
You know, if I could, Meg.
Of course.
You know, when I see these, we have social media in there, which is important because we do communicate that way. But, you know, we have document retention rules to some extent. And, you know, I'm very careful with my assembly email, and I keep a phone log for this phone number. Facebook, I don't know how you keep records there, but are there legal issues then if we start saying this is an official way to communicate with me as an assembly member, which I fairly avoid, at least in my head, with my Facebook stuff. So I don't know. Have you thought about that or got an answer? Someone?
I had.
Of course I have.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, Jennifer will answer that for you.
So I think it's a good question for the clerk's Facebook page, because yes, you're absolutely right that these are records, and we would have to, at least as far as we're concerned, the clerk's page is, and they're public records that we would have to produce if there was to be a request. So we have something called Archive Social, which is a back-end program that we use to archive all of those things. I think that we could roll it out to assembly members who wanted to use it on their page. But there's, I guess, a nuance between what is public and what is your personal page. And so our recommendation is that people have separate pages for their stuff, as opposed to like their assembly business related material, which would be subject to public records requests.
So if you don't have that social archive add-on, is that an issue?
I think you'd be limited in what you could produce. Facebook doesn't keep things forever. I don't know how long it does archive material, but you would be limited in what you'd be able to produce, how far back you'd be able to go.
And does that create a liability on us then? Or is that just someone asks a FOIA request and you go, sorry, I can't get that, and we're all good to go?
Barbara, do you want to take that one?
Well, I think that's more complicated. And Jennifer, so I think that the real question is, do we want to offer Archive Social to Assembly members for their official Assembly member Facebook page or whatever other social media you use? So I don't know for all of you, but I do know that Felix Rivera has an Assembly member Felix Rivera Facebook page. Is that correct, Felix?
Yes, he does have one.
Okay, so he doesn't have like his personal page combined with his Assembly member page. So I think that it might be possible that the clerk's office could provide Archive Social for those additional accounts. I think did we get an offer, a price for that, Jennifer?
Yes, we did. I don't know how much it was, but it was affordable to be able to add other additional accounts. And this is something that the municipality rolled out to many of its departments this last year because those same questions were arising. Police department Facebook page, and lots of other departments have Facebook pages where we need to archive that material.
So that would be, we could easily do that if members wanted us to. I think we would not like to, I think it becomes more complicated for each of you if you use your personal Facebook page as your Assembly member Facebook page or social media. I think having them separate is smarter, and that would make it easier for us to pay for that. But if that's a block, we'll just do it. If you say, I don't do Facebook except for Assembly, fine, we'll pay for it. Because like Jennifer said, it's just really minimal.
Thank you. Okay, so perhaps the requests going back out could be just with that kind of caveat or additional information that if you if you have a Facebook page, can you let us know if it's your Assembly only, or I guess you guys could click on them and look at them and you would know. Maybe we could get a reminder about the need to preserve the information on those. I know I don't delete anything coming out of the Messenger feature on Facebook for my Assembly page. And then we can kind of work out some of those nuances as we get more information from members to figure out how many it might be. Does that sound like a reasonable way forward?
Yes, I think we can do that.
Okay. And thanks, John, for raising that issue. It's something I've thought about in that I don't delete anything, but I actually haven't looked to see how far back Facebook archives information. Although from my personal page, I think it would cover my term on the Assembly, just from what I've been able to see from my own other page. Okay, great. This looks really good. And I think we can also have, as we talk with our constituents and residents as well, for me, finding me, let's say on Facebook, is really more an issue of another place you can find out updates or information coming from me instead of necessarily a contact or a portal for contact. I try to keep everyone an email and phone if I can. But of course, each member will do as they'd like there. Anything else on that topic?
I don't think so. Thank you for the feedback, and we will reach out to the membership again.
Great, and hopefully we'll get wrapped up. All right, is there anything else that we failed to include on the agenda that anyone needs to bring up with regards to communications right now?
Meg, I joined late, but did Christopher talk about radio?
He did not. We can certainly do that.
Sure, I briefly mentioned radio, but not in the context of anything moving forward. I'm glad to announce that it's happening, as many of you know, and the only thing that I'd mentioned regarding the radio today was just that I'm hopeful that the content developed to explain the process can be utilized in the breaks when we take our dinner, and then the radio can hear those messages too. But Barbara, I would love to hear your report on how things are standing right now.
You know, I would just thank Christopher. He just greased the wheels, laid the red carpet, whatever he did, it was just magical. And it was really pleasant working with KRUA at UAA. They actually started broadcasting the last meeting of October. And so we currently, we're having a little negotiation about whether we send them a link or whether they just look up the link on YouTube. And then they just play from the on-base YouTube link. They're getting paid $5,000, which covers 2 semesters. It's a donation. We're a sponsor. We have a great ad that's going to be put before them that I think Meg and Felix and Christopher, you've all seen. So, and that should be starting. Our goal was to start officially December 1st. And that is just a payment issue, and they signed up for payment, and as soon as that's complete, they'll get paid.
Fantastic. Well done, everyone. That came to fruition very quickly. And I hope folks who get to listen on the radio provide us any feedback about how that is. I've heard it comes in nice and clear. It's the feedback I've received.
You know, all of their shows are archived too, which is kind of hilarious. There's an additional archive now to our business out there.
Archives upon archives. It will be very few for a historian one day should they find us that interesting. All right. Do we have anything else we need to cover today?
It'll also be an active rebuttal of any argument that we're changing videos, which I've heard.
Can't even contemplate technology on that one, but okay. Okay. Hearing nothing else, we have time, of course, for audience participation. I see a phone number there. Is that someone from the audience who'd like to participate?
This is Eugene.
Yeah, please go ahead, Mr. Haberman.
Okay, happy holidays. Just a footnote, I'll be very brief. All you had on the website was the agenda. I'm glad you had the agenda for this meeting, but the items that you discussed, and I guess you could see certain those items, the public could not. And it was very difficult to follow what you're saying when you're referring to those items and have those charts and so forth and proposed newsletters. So it's very important to have that information out when you're having the meeting for the public, so we can follow you to what you're having a conversation on. And I guess that's it, except that you forgot to put audience participation on the agenda, but I thank you for remembering that verbally. Thank you very much, and wish you all the best and happy holidays.
Thank you, Mr. Haberman. And we'll work on getting our documents up on that same spot. So with that, I believe we are done. So we will be adjourned. Thank you all. Have a good afternoon.
Great. Thanks, Meg.